Welcome to Houston Sports Talk with your host, Robert Land.
Holy cow, the Texans back at it again. Thanks for checking into the best Houston sports podcast and our live Texans-Steelers postgame show. Sorry for the delay. We are here for the next 30 minutes or so. We're part of the Bleav network also, and joining me is contributor Tom Chavarria, co-host of the Bullpen podcast. Tom, we've got plenty of football to talk about, but the best thing about this game, very simply, is no major injuries. Nobody carted off the field, at least that I saw.
I think it was great from a health standpoint. Really exciting game to talk about. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And among those not playing in this one with minor injuries, Kamari Lassiter, Will Anderson, Tim Settle, Desmond King, Christian Harris, Charlie Heck, Tegan Catoriano, Noah Brown, Jeff Okudah, and Brevin Jordan. So yeah, some big names were out of this one. And by the way, for everybody watching live, send us your questions and comments. We're going to post them and react as we move along in this one. We're going to go over a lot of the game, at least the first half, where the real excitement was. And if you're new to Houston Sports Talk, we go live every Texans game. So make us a part of your Texans routine. Let's go to the Texans' first defensive possession. Tom, and Danielle Hunter with QB pressure on his first snap in a Texans uniform. Fadakasi also showed something on a run stuff at the line of scrimmage. The D forced a punt at midfield. So then we got Stroud's first action of the preseason. The first pass, a short completion to Cade Stover. His second attempt, a deep shot to Dalton Schultz. Looked like Schultz was held along the sideline, but no flags. And Tom, I think I'm just going to save any anger at officiating for the regular season. There was a couple of strange things going on here, but yeah, it wasn't the best start for the offense, but it probably should have been called a penalty.
Absolutely. I know they ruled that it was an uncatchable ball, but I mean, if you hold the guy for 5 or 6 yards, it's going to look really bad. So it obviously could have been a little cleaner from the officiating side, but just excited to see the ones. Really glad. I mean, most of them anyway. We talked about the long list, but just excited to see number 7 doing what number 7 does. Just the warm up, all the things. CJ Stroud looked really good to me for his first action in the preseason.
Oh, yeah. We're going to get to the play of the game in a second, but I did not like what I saw from Juice Scruggs on the first possession. His guy bulldozed him into Stroud on one pass play, and then he missed a block on the third down pass. That was especially bad because he was just helping on a double team and kind of got an Olay. The guy came at Stroud. Luckily, Stroud got rid of it, but the Texans back on defense. And Tom, I think Danielle Hunter is ready to go. A sack on third down to finish up a 3-and-out, and the sack, the pressure. I mean, it looked like the guy we paid all the money for.
It's really going to be interesting. A lot of people are talking about Will Anderson Jr. being the premier defensive end in Houston, and rightfully so. But Danielle Hunter had 16 sacks last year. The guy was a stud in Minnesota. I think him added to this defense, those numbers could even be bigger. And we could be talking about Danielle Hunter at the end of the season more than Will Anderson.
Yeah, well, we're going to see because, I mean, Hunter's got all the experience. He's got the long history of sacks. But just hoping that those guys, I just want to get them through the preseason healthy. I'm getting real worried after the Nico Autry suspension. It's like, okay, that's enough. That's one guy, one big guy down. Let's get through this thing. Let's go to the ensuing punt. Tank Dell tackled out of bounds. Like I said, try not to gripe about the officials, but I'm not thrilled with the refs when we're talking about protecting players during a preseason game. And it's Tank Dell. Don't mess with Tank Dell after all he's been through. So, Tom, actually 2 Steelers could have been called for a late hit, including ex-Texan Cam Johnson. Hey, what happened, Cam? We were just friends. Remember?
Clearly, he was not happy that he's no longer the guy in Houston. It was interesting to see Tank back there. I know they have so many different options right now to return punts, but it's very, very evident that Tank is very, very talented. He had a great return. I'm terrified like you. I can't see that guy get hurt. Wrap him in bubble wrap and put him away for a while.
Yeah, that's worth a note for anybody that's paying attention to, like, okay, what are they looking at in the regular season? Is Tank Dell going to be back for punts? Or are they going to do it selectively? They did a little selectively last year. So, that's interesting. And then Tank, the late hit, but then he got his revenge. The quick 34-yard touchdown pass, perfect read and throw by Stroud. Tom, I saw Diggs throwing up his hands in celebration as soon as Tank caught the pass at the 15. Dell still had to juke a defender at the 5, but he made it look easy. Tank's back, baby.
Absolutely. It just felt right. It was like, this is what we waited so long for ever since he got the injury. I love that Stephon Diggs was a consummate teammate. A lot has been made in the offseason about his diva status and stuff like that. I don't feel like on this team he feels that way at all. Genuinely happy for his guy Tank getting the score, and the Texans are on top.
Yeah, Diggs with a nice little animated conversation with Stroud that they caught on camera during the game. And it looked like they were just kind of going over things. I wish I could read lips and tell you what they were talking about, but that was kind of interesting. And what mattered most in the first quarter is after 2 possessions, CJ Stroud is okay. He's not injured. Nobody really hit him that bad. There was one where they rushed the passer. He had to get rid of it. A little bit of a hit, but he was like, it wasn't that too bad on that one. And that's all you really care about. And let's go to the next Steelers possession, though, because they pick up a couple of first downs, but you cannot kill off Jerry Hughes, Tom. He's still rolling along, and his pressure on third down leads to a Neville Hewitt, Mario Edwards sack. We're going to get more into Mario in a bit, but Jerry Hughes, without Danico, you're going to need him.
I thought Jerry Hughes got robbed because initially they said that he didn't get a piece of that sack. And I think he was there before the other 2 guys.
And then after a pass interference helps the Texans to a first down, I saw that Davis Mills we're all too familiar with on 2nd down and 8. He badly overthrows Xavier Hutchinson on an easy 5-yard slant. If he hits him in stride, it's a first down and maybe more. And that's my thing with Davis Mills. It's like, yeah, I mean, we don't need him to be any more than backup. But Davis, can you just not overthrow a guy 5 yards on a 5-yard sling? I mean, that is the epitome of why he frustrates the hell out of me, because, he can be very good at times. He's like the girl with the curl, and then he screws up something real simple.
Yeah, I think Davis is always going to be that guy that's just so close to putting it all together, but lacks that finish, that polish. And you spoke to it right there. And I love the fact that he's the backup for the Texans, though. I hope nobody comes and tries to pry him away.
So then Mills gets sacked on 3rd down thanks to really horrible blocking by right guard Chris Reed, the definition of a camp body. He's sort of body bag guy. I sort of think of the body bag and Karate Kid, but I'll speed by that disaster and get back to the Texans on defense, Tom, because quarterback Chris Boyd beat on a big pass play. The Steelers quickly get inside the 5. 4th and 2, Texans get lucky. Calvin Austin wide open in the corner, but drops a pass that Kyle Allen could have made a tad easier. Guy was wide open. And Tom, the Texans 2nd and 3rd string secondary again this week haven't exactly wowed anybody.
I don't love them. There's a couple guys that I think we'll get to before we're done, but there's definitely a lot of questions. You really hope that a lot of the secondary for the Texans, the starters, stay healthy, because you're seeing some of these guys that are supposed to be potential 2s and 3s just get beat badly on some plays, and it's kind of scary to think about because it's a preseason game.
Yeah, John Harris was on the color with the Texans game, and this is really the first time I want to say, I don't know if he did the color last time he was with the Texans, but or last year when the Texans were doing this stuff. But Tom, I mean, John was trying to talk me into Kalen Bullock. I just don't know if he did a good job of that. You know what I mean?
I think he's going to make rookie mistakes. Obviously, that's a tough position to learn. So I'm not ready to Kalen Bullock can't do it. I just need him to get the reps, and maybe we'll see a progression where he becomes the guy over time.
Before we roll on with this one, just a quick reminder to check out my conversation with Steph Stradley, Texans Chronicle contributor, about her trip to Canton for Andre Johnson's Hall of Fame week. Boy, if you didn't hear that conversation, you'll want to hear that if you're a true Texans fan, and I can't imagine that you're not going to really love that show. All right, Tom, the Texans go 3 and out on the next Mills drive. They ran on 1st and 2nd down, but Ogunbowale just got a few yards right there. And I should also mention that Dameon Pierce had no luck on a couple of carries earlier. The problem with making a judgment, though, on this running game is all the vets aren't playing. No Tunsil, Mason, or Howard, of course.
I'm torn. I want Dameon Pierce to be great. I really want him to be the guy. I went to war for him last year. I really think that him saying that he wasn't ready and he would get there over time was really a cool thing that you don't see a lot of football players do. However, when you see a guy in this situation where you really need him to come together early in the preseason to prove that the offseason work helped, that he's learned the system, that he's making the right cuts. Right now, I haven't seen it. And whether it's Dare Ogunbowale or tonight, Jawar Jordan, that I guess we'll get to a little bit, had some plays, can't make. There's a lot of other guys on this team that are making plays that make me wonder, when are we going to get the Dameon Pierce, the rookie version, and if he still has it?
Yeah, I just answer this one for me. How do you work on your running game without 3 of your 5 stars? I mean, at some point in this preseason, if you're going to really work on the run, I mean, the last chance really is this next game. I mean, you're running out of real estate here. And the problem all last year was the running game just didn't really ever kind of get it going. There's a couple of times where they had some good games, but we know this is where the real issue is on the offensive side of the ball. I get it. Laremy Tunsil's hurt. Titus Howard's coming back from injury. I'm sorry, Shaq Mason, you got to get out there. I don't want to see Chris Reed. Like, that is, it's worthless to me. It's worthless information. I'm not finding anything out about Dameon Pierce. I'm not finding out anything about the offense as a whole when you're seeing this. And the right side of the offensive line, especially, looks terrible because Blake Fisher, of course, playing left tackle.
Yeah, I totally agree. The one thing I would say, though, with regards to that offensive line, those guys are incredibly important. So if there's anything that they're dealing with that's minor, I know we want to get a great feel for Dameon Pierce and the run game as a whole, but their health and keeping CJ clean is probably more important than all of it. So as much as I want Dameon Pierce to get the fair shake, because it is going to be an interesting discussion when they have it as to what they do behind Joe Mixon, I need those guys to be healthy.
Yeah, I understand the other two, the 2 tackles, because obviously they're dealing with injury. Shaq Mason, just like, let's get out as many of the real guys as possible. And I don't know. Juice Scruggs is also, I'm a little concerned about him at this point. I mean, Jared Patterson, though, is a great other option. So we'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, let's go back to the action, because the Texans grab a break when the Steelers punt returner misjudges Tommy Townsend's punt and fumbles it. Brandon Hill recovers it. But Tom, your namesake, your guy Tommy Townsend, he's crushing punts in the preseason. It's been incredible.
The nickname on the broadcast, Tommy Rockets, I'm in love with it. It's going to stick. I love the addition to this team. He is absolutely a weapon on special teams that already was a very good special teams. So I love the addition. I think he's going to be great.
So thanks to a major screw up by the Texans television broadcast, we missed a Zach Stover completion that I guess was great because John Harris was bragging about it, even though we never saw it. Not sure what's worse, the fact that they were in commercial or the fact that they didn't even record it to show us a replay. I don't know how this works in their truck, but I was just shocked that not only did we miss the play, but you could have just at any point in the broadcast could have showed us the replay. But anyway, after a Mills sack, he makes a nice scramble, hits Robert Woods for a 1st and goal at the 4. I'll give it up to Mills when he deserves it, and he deserved it for that play, one of his better plays, Tom. And next play, Ogunbowale, touchdown, impressive block also by Andrew Beck. Good to see Beck healthy again.
I really can't say it enough, for me anyway. I think Dare Ogunbowale is really trying to solidify his place on this roster. And it's going to make that running back competition so interesting because with his versatility on special teams, how do you not keep him when he's performing as a running back, knowing that you have him? I really like him.
Yeah, not going to talk much about the second half, but speaking of the running backs, I heard John Harris say that his comp for Jawar Jordan was LaShawn McCoy, and then he took a victory lap because Jawar Jordan said that was his guy growing up. No, that doesn't mean he's a comp, and you could take a victory lap just because the guy said that's who the guy he kind of followed and wanted to be like growing up. Like, I want to be like Earl Campbell or Arian Foster, but you know what? I'm not that guy. I don't think Jawar Jordan is LaShawn McCoy. No offense, Jawar.
I mean, that's a good thing to shoot for, right? Shady McCoy was a monster for 4 years, I think. So if he's shooting for a goal, that's not a bad one.
Oh no, no question. He could shoot for John Harris. Back off a little bit with the fact that that's the comp that you got for him. Final drive of the half for the Texans after a quick stop by the D. Davis Mills puts together a nice drive, completions to Mechie, Woods, Stover, a couple to Sims, and then Fairbairn cashes it in with a field goal, 17-0 at the half. And really not a ton to hate, Tom. I mean, it was good first half. Good first half last week too, I thought.
You know what's really refreshing about these first two games? I feel like the team is so well coached. Like, I don't feel like you get them having struggles in and out of the huddle. I don't feel like you get the silly, penalty after penalty after penalty. I really feel like watching these Texans, you feel so good about what they're doing because you don't have the silly mistakes. And I think that's a sign of a good team. And 17-0 halftime, you got to see the guys you wanted to see. I felt like it was a really good first half.
Yeah, you said something I wanted to bring up. They played very clean, and the only guy that really had any trouble with penalties, Khalil Davis picked up a couple. One of them was he just flat out jumped on an offsides. The other one was a hands to the face. He needs to clean things up. He's battling. He wants to get more playing time at the tackle position, but it's obvious like he's a backup at this point. But guy's done a hell of a job for a guy that nobody thought would be at this spot a couple of years into his Texans career. Let's go back to the second half of this game. Not a ton to talk about, but I really enjoy the interview though, Tom, during the game with Azeez Al-Shire. Really thoughtful guy. You could hear the intelligence, recognize the leadership. He had a good story about how he bonded with D'Amico off the field when he was with the Niners. And it's one of the things that I really love about how the Texans have put this team together. Leaders, different places. You got a leader and Will Anderson on the defensive line, and Al-Shire in the linebacking core, Jimmy Ward in the secondary. Obviously, Stroud's got to be a leader. That's going to be the case. But, a good offensive line leader in Laramie Tunsil, obviously, with all the cachet that he has. Wide receiver now, Stephon Diggs, bringing some of that as well. And I think Tank Dell, for a guy in his second year, we heard about him in his first year and what a leader he was. So it's all over the field, Tom, where you've got these guys.
Yeah, the GM, the coach, they've all echoed the same sentiment throughout their entire process. Person over player. They're looking for great character, quality leaders. And I think you're seeing it in all these different players that you talked about. And them bringing in these good guys that are just trying to make everyone better and leading by example is just infectious. And it's the sign of a really good football team.
Was there anything in the second half, and you can just tell me no, that you thought was worth noting or we're saying anything about?
I really want to see Cam Akers move up. I need to see more Cam Akers. I know he's doing great things against the third and I guess maybe the fourth units of these two games. But now I need to see it elevated because I think that's a guy that you could use. He's showing that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's showing that he can make some decisive cuts. And I think that's a guy you can also use in the kick return game, which when you were talking about all these other running backs and where they're maybe carve out a role, it's being versatile in that sense. So I need to see more Cam Akers.
Let me just say one thing before we talk any more about the second half or any more about this game. John Mechie does not look even as good as Steven Sims does out there. He does not look as good as, some of the other guys that are behind him. Xavier Hutchinson, I want him on my team. I want him going forward. He's going to be cheap too. He's a 6th round pick. So the next 3 years, you got him on the cheap. John Mechie's in big time trouble right now, Tom. Big trouble just to stay on this roster because, Robert Woods, 4 catches. Robert Woods is going to catch the ball when you throw him the football. John Mechie, I'm not so sure about. And Woods is a veteran. So he's somebody that knows what he's doing and you can count on him. Mechie's in trouble.
I completely agree. I keep expecting him to do more. I keep expecting them to focus on him more to try to get his confidence and build that, that game speed up for him so it kind of slows down. And the more and more I watch him, the more and more I think he's pressing. I think he's trying to will it to happen. And I mean, in any sport, doesn't matter what, when you can't just let it come to you, it seems like you make the bonehead plays or you don't make the catches or you're a hair off. Like I think John Mechie is. And I just hope it happens for him.
Let me ask you for the game in general, who is your MVP? And I'm going to give you some candidates. I'll throw them out there. Tank Dell, of course, the highlight of the game. He's an option. Danielle Hunter, who had a sack, a TFL in his only 2 series that he played. Brandon Hill, we haven't mentioned him. He recovered the fumble punt. We mentioned that, but he also had the game clinching interception. So a couple big plays for a guy that we didn't see at all last year, but somebody that they drafted late in the draft, or kind of a surprise candidate, Mario Edwards Jr., defensive tackle, 5 tackles in this game, 3 solo, 2 tackles for loss, and a half a sack. And I noticed the sack, I noticed the tackle for loss, but boy, when you looked at it, the whole line in his game, Mario Edwards looked really strong. And, I remember John Harris talking about on the broadcast, like, this guy looks like the starting tackle for sure. He showed out in camp as well.
I love all of your selections. All of them are definitely worthy candidates. The guy for me is the third guy you named. It's Brandon Hill. Safety, I think, is going to be an interesting topic of discussion throughout the entire preseason and probably through the season, with how a lot of people feel that Jalen Petrie is going to really play a lot of nickel. So when you look at the depth chart around that decision, there really is a need, I think a serious need for a 4th safety. Brandon Hill definitely fills that bill. He's obviously somebody that'll play on special teams, which again, that versatility that we go back to really works for his favor. And I mean, like you said, a 7th round pick, D'Amico's really got this thing where he loves to mold young guys, especially guys drafted later. So I could see all of these things, all these boxes checking in his favor. And that's my guy for this game.
Brandon Hill, I mean, let's just give him his we don't know how many more chances he's going to get. I think he's a bubble guy. Obviously, he was there at the end of the game. So, you might as well give him a little bit of love. I mean, we're going to give Tank Dell and Danielle Hunter a lot of love as the season goes along. So those guys are going to get their roses. But, absolutely, I can definitely give it to Brandon Hill. Mario Edwards, though, that's the guy that means the most to me, because I know what we've got in Tank Dell. I know what we've got in Danielle Hunter already. But Mario Edwards, if you've got somebody at the defensive tech, because we were kind of panicking, no Malik Collins, it seemed like they gave him away. They were maybe counting on Danico Autry to do some work at tackle, especially on passing downs. So yeah, it really matters. And Fatukasi and Edwards both look good early in this game, and I think that matters. My biggest concern, though, is not the defensive line depth, really. My concern is, and we talked about it before, and I just keep harping on it, but man, the linebacking depth, it looks really rough right now, especially when we're not seeing the starters out there much at all.
I'm terrified of the linebacking core. I really am. And I've said it many, many times going in that was my least position of concern, because D'Amico is a linebacker at his history, at heart, the whole 9. And I felt of all the positions where he could be able to take a guy that maybe wasn't a highly touted prospect or a high draft pick and turn him into more, linebacker would be the position. So some of these younger guys he would bring up and groom, and they would look good. And so far they haven't. And I'm going to need to see an improvement drastically from the linebacking core, or they need to go get somebody, because outside of the starters, I don't know who I like. Neville Hewitt, maybe, but he has plays where he doesn't make great plays. So there's just a lot of concern for me in that specific position.
The thing that matters to me most offensively right now from the first couple of games is Cade Stover just looks solid. I mean, he's just making good catches. I wish I had seen that other catch that he made, because he made 3 catches and I only got to see 2 of them on the broadcast. But, he just looks like he's very comfortable out there. He looks like he knows what he's doing. You've got Brevin Jordan that's gets banged up quite a bit. You've got Toriano that gets banged up quite a bit. So it's a big deal if he's able to stay healthy and be ready to play for you in game one of this season as a backup to Dalton Schultz and as another option, somebody that can actually block a little bit. You would hope too, once he gets that down. Not really known for that in college, but he was new to the position, and we remind everybody about that. He's new to the tight end position. Just a couple of years ago, he was not that tight end.
I love Cade Stover. I think the Texans were very smart to go out and get him because CJ clearly was seeing this guy at Ohio State, knew what he was capable of, and was like, this was going to be a good, solid NFL player. And we're getting to see it firsthand. And I like what he's doing on special teams. I think he's a good special teamer as well. So Cade Stover for me, he feels more and more like a lock to be part of the 53 every day.
The big thing also with Cade Stover's success and then Dell's success last year, CJ Stroud, let's just go ahead and make him the general manager. He's our player personnel guy. I mean, do we need Caserio anymore? I mean, look at what Casario's done at safety. I think I need CJ Stroud to start drafting at safety because I'm just not real confident in Kalen Bullock right now. Not a big fan of Jalen Petrie right now. So, maybe we need to, get him working on the defensive side of the ball too in the next draft.
Couldn't hurt. Absolutely couldn't hurt. He's definitely got an eye for talent. So if CJ says he's good, I want him.
He watches if you heard him talk about, he just watches everything that's going on. He knows all the players in college. I don't know if he's going to be able to continue to keep that up and do all the scouting for his games, in the NFL or whatever. But man, you got to love a guy that's that much about football.
Oh, absolutely. And your quarterback to boot, if he's going to nerd out to that point to where he's really paying attention to players at that level, I think what's going on between his ears throughout a game is really going to be special.
Any final thoughts on this one or just the Texans in camp so far, Texans moving forward?
I mean, as we get more and more of this roster and we get to see more and more of the starting unit, I'm really excited to see it where we're not questioning, well, will this running back look good or will this lineman look good? So as those holes begin to shore up, we get a better idea of where the clear areas of concern are. But right now, I'm just really proud of this team for going on the road and getting a win. I don't think they play for wins like that, but you saw guys finish games. Brandon Hill finishing the game with that interception. And that's just a sign of look, we aim to go out and do things right. Doesn't matter if it's preseason, regular season, postseason, where we're making good plays all the time. And again, another mark of a really good team.
I don't know how serious this injury is with Chavarria Lassiter, but I would like to have him take a snap in something that resembles a preseason game or a scrimmage or somewhere where he's not playing against Texans players. And I just want to see what the guy can do before this gets real in a hurry. And you're talking about a team that's wants to compete for they think they're a championship contender. Your number 2 cornerback, your rookie, he needs to get some snaps. You got to get him up to speed soon.
I totally agree. I never really felt great about them sitting him the first preseason game because you just need to get the runtime. Now we've got little nagging injuries, which isn't great. Although everything they're saying in camp is they absolutely love this kid. So whatever we're not seeing, they feel totally confident in what he's able to do. I do like the fact that they went out and got Jeff Okudah and CJ Henderson to shore up that position if for some reason he has issues adjusting to the game early on. But I want to see him too.
The plan going forward with the Texans live shows is we're going to do these right after the game. Had some extenuating circumstances in this one, but the plan going forward is look for us right after the Texans games during the year. And we want more of you to jump on board. So if you've got friends of yours, if you like what we're doing and you want us to continue to do it, tell people that you know about it. Let them know this is something worthy of watching. And the live shows, obviously, you can watch them anytime. So just point people to the live tabs on our Houston Sports Talk page. Look for the live tabs and where we've got all the live shows. Definitely want to hear from more of you and what you thought of the Texans in this game. who you like, who you don't like. What do you want us to talk about in our next live show, on our next show next week? Stephen will be back with me next week on Monday. And then we'll definitely have a live one after the following Texans game, third game of the preseason, a biggie. I mean, hopefully we'll see most of the regular guys out there. But thanks again to Tom for doing this. Thanks to everybody that's out there listening and enjoying us and fans of the show. And we'll talk again soon. Take care, everybody.
You're listening to Houston Sports Talk.
Hey, you can support the show by subscribing on YouTube and commenting on the videos. Listen to Houston Sports Talk on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and Google. Don't forget to tell a friend and share our show on social media. Spread the word, everybody. Thanks for listening.